Welcome to the Wellness Help Desk with your host, Nike Lamodi, certified wellness coach and personal trainer. A wellness podcast focused on providing practical tips on how to curate a healthy lifestyle uniquely for you, where we discuss wellness hot topics with expert guests and have real candid conversations. It's the one-stop shop you need to get the help you've been looking for. Let's dive in. Hey, what's up, and welcome to the Wellness Help Desk. I'm your host, Nike Lamodi, and this is episode 40. So today is a special episode, and I'm going to do a lot more of these in 2024, where I'm going to be sharing some client wins, some of their stories, and how they achieved that in one-on-one coaching with me. And so today I'm going to share the very first one with you in this series, and this is going to be talking about how she was able to go from putting a lot of pressure on her partner to finally hearing him say, "I love you." And I'm so excited to share her story and her win that she got in our time together with you. And if you are a first-gen eldest daughter who wants to overcome her people pleasing so that you can finally live your life on your terms without the guilt, then one-on-one coaching is for you. In one-on-one coaching, I will help you identify how you can curate the lifestyle that you want and how you want to feel, especially when it comes to achieving the goals that are extremely meaningful to you in the areas of health, relationships, and work-life balance. Just book a consultation call with me via the link in the show notes to learn how I can help you in one-on-one coaching. Okay, so let's dive in today talking about my client's win. Now, my client is a first-gen eldest daughter who works in the mental health tech space, and she's accomplished so much both personally and professionally, which is no surprise as us first-gens eldest daughters, we're super high achievers, and we accomplish things every single time that we put our mind to. So she has done so much. And we were in a session together, and she expressed to me that she had this urgency to have everything perfectly accounted for. And when I asked her, tell me more about that, she said, well, I want the house, the family, and the husband to be perfectly accounted for. And she described that because she kept feeling this urgency for these things to be accounted for in her life, that she always had this feeling of anxiousness all the time. Despite the fact that she has accomplished these significant milestones, she still felt like these things were needed in order for her to feel whole and to feel complete. And this only placed a lot of pressure on her dating relationship because she continued to feel this urgency for these things to be accounted for. That pressure led to her and her partner having more intensified arguments. She was worried that he wasn't truly committed because he hadn't said, "I love you." She constantly thought about how she was approaching 30 in the next couple years, and she wasn't sure about if their long distance relationship was what was right. And so what my client was feeling was so common, especially when it comes to first-gen eldest daughters. We receive just a high level of pressure around marriage, around family, and around success. And our immigrant parents are asking a lot most times, when is the wedding? They need grandchildren. I remember my dad asking me all the time, "You always attend weddings, when is yours?" Even in the last days of his life, towards the end, he still talked about the grandchildren and the memories that he wanted to make with them. And so we as first gens feel the pressure to marry, have kids, have a home as a sign of achievement or success that will make our immigrant parents proud. But the good news is there is another way, right? Here is what I help my client begin to embody and apply to her circumstance of feeling this false sense of urgency to have those things in her life in order for her to feel whole and to remove that pressure off of her partner and their relationship. So the two things are the power of letting go and accepting. That simple. And I know you're like, are you kidding me? That's it? I'm like, that's truly it. Because I want you also to remember that simple doesn't mean incredibly easy. Sometimes simple is still hard. But when we overcomplicate things, it then also puts up for us this sense of, I can't do this, I can't overcome this, I don't have time for this. But simple can be approached with more curiosity and more like, oh, okay, I could try that. Like, that sounds simple enough. And so the first thing with letting go, that's letting go of what should be, especially for her through this lens of like the pressure for, a husband and kids in the house, letting go of what should be. And sometimes the expectation of what should be is coming from family or society or even ourselves and what those expectations are. And it's fine to have an ideal expectation or vision or desire for something. But the problem arises when we become so attached to the outcome of what should be, and then we ruminate on the outcome that we anticipated, but then it didn't actually happen. So for example, if you knew that, okay, I'm the oldest daughter, my parents want me to get married, now I've graduated college, I've gotten a good job, okay, by 30, I'm going to be married. By 32, we'll have 2 kids. Well, what if you are 32 and you're still not married, and you just ruminate and you just continue to hyper fixate on the fact that the outcome didn't work out in the way that you had anticipated? And so when you focus on letting go, you're focusing on letting go, detaching from what should be. And then the second thing that I really helped her to embody and implement in her life is acceptance. So acceptance of what is. And I love the way Health News Team described acceptance. And so they described it as acceptance means fully acknowledging the facts of a situation and not fixating on how it shouldn't be that way. And that mindset moves you away from often harsh judgment of yourself and allows you to break away from thoughts of guilt or unfairness. And I love the way they describe this because it's accurate, right? Acceptance, people can hear that and get totally resistant. Like, wait a minute. No. I'm not accepting this, and this, because they mean that, by accepting, I'm saying that this is fair, what's happening to me. This is right, what's happening to me. Or there's judgment that should be cast on what's happening to me. But that's not what acceptance is. Acceptance is, no, you're fully acknowledging the facts of a circumstance, the facts of a situation, the facts of an outcome, but you're choosing not to fixate on how it shouldn't be that way. And when you go to a place of acceptance of what is, you know what happens? It literally takes you out of it shouldn't be like this is unfair, and judging yourself and judging others, to being in the present moment. Being present with what is. And when you're present with what is, you spend more time trying to cultivate and nurture what is present so that you can begin to change the next day, and then the next day after that, and the next month, and then the next year. And so I worked on these 2 concepts with my client and helped her to begin implementing these in her life and embodying letting go of what should be and accepting what is. Now, these 2 concepts alone, this took her out of trying to fix her relationship. It took her out of trying to place the expectations and the assumptions on her partner based on her false sense of urgency of needing the husband and kids in the house in order to feel whole, to be perfectly accounted for. And it allowed for her to focus on nurturing what was right in front of her. So she started focusing on the relationship with herself as she was navigating, embodying, and applying this letting go and acceptance. Her relationship with her own self began to be more heightened and more of her focus. She started to tap into how she can create her own sense of safety outside of her relationship and outside of her meeting her cultural expectations. Sometimes just by alone, knowing we have our parents' acknowledgement as first gens, knowing that we are checking off the boxes for their list for us, can give us this sense of safety. But she went and explored how she could create her own sense of safety outside of her relationships and the cultural expectations that she was striving to meet. And this was something that we talked about in session after session together. She also took the time to actively accept what is. And the process of accepting what is, right, which means you fully acknowledge the situation, you're just choosing not to fixate on how it should be. So as she worked through that, the biggest thing I want to say that you have to do when you're working through acceptance is ensuring that you're not making it mean something about you as a person. So if you anticipated being married and already having a kid at 32 and your 32 is the first gen and you're still single and not married with kids, accepting what is, hey, I'm not married, I don't have any kids, but not making it mean anything about you as a person in a negative way. What she also worked through with accepting what is as accepting her present circumstance of not being married and not having any kids yet, she didn't allow for saying, okay, this is the facts of the situation, and just because the outcome is a mismatch for my expectations doesn't mean that it is insinuating that I need to have urgency, that I need to be in a rush. And so when you're accepting what is and saying, okay, I'm accepting what is, and I know it's a mismatch for what I wanted the outcome to be, it doesn't insinuate that I need to have this false sense of urgency about arriving to X, Y, and Z, whether that's arriving to this promotion, arriving to making this amount of money, arriving to being married, arriving to having the 3 kids. There's no urgency for it. And so since implementing these 2 concepts and us working together session after session through these, she has had so many amazing wins, not only in her relationship, but in her life. And so I'm going to share with you right now the wins that she has had. So she has experienced less anxiety, and that opportunity of having less anxiety has given her the ability to be more present for herself and are very attuned to what her needs are. And that allowed for her to be vulnerable in her relationship and to be able to connect with her partner more intimately. Her relationship started to thrive so much more. Her partner finally communicated to her that he loved her, and he is looking presently into potential options of moving to the States because he lives abroad. And so she started to experience connection, more deepened trust, and peace in her relationship. She also has found that she isn't placing their relationship on an idol. So she no longer finds that she is putting her identity in just this relationship alone, or that she's putting the relationship on this pedestal, but that she is her own individual outside of the relationship, and the relationship status is not an end-all be-all for her. So in the end, she was able to have these wins in her relationship, no longer live under the pressure of a false sense of urgency, and live in a present state that allowed for her to show up for herself. She started going and being more consistent in doing tennis coaching in her spare time, spend more time doing self-care, and having intentional time with her friends. And I want to encourage you that my client is like you. She is a first-generation eldest daughter striving to make her family proud and achieve nothing but the best, which means that this transformation is possible for you too. It isn't something that will only work for her. You as well can have this transformation in your life. And you may be feeling a false sense of urgency in a different way. Maybe it's not related to being married and having kids and buying the house. Maybe it's related to financial independence or even just more achievement in your career. But what is the same is that you're a first-gen eldest daughter with a lived experience, and that these tools that I taught her and helped her to embody, it also can be taught to you. You also can embody them as well. So in one-on-one coaching, I help you uncover the toxic first-gen eldest daughter narratives that are running on autopilot, that are showing up in your life in ways that you don't even realize. And by helping you uncover those in one-on-one coaching, you will begin to shift and have the transformations that you need in order to achieve the health, financial, and career goals that you desire. So book a call via the consultation in the show notes so you can learn about how I can help you achieve this in your life in the next 90 days. I am so honored that I get to be a part of this client's life and continue coaching with her. She is literally transforming her life through the work we're doing together. And I'm so proud of her and so proud of who she's embodying and growing into being. And I want to encourage you, first gen eldest daughters, that you're more than just the first gen eldest daughter. You're so much more than that. And I want you to know that, believe that, and be empowered to discover who else you are outside of that title. So again, thank you so much for listening in. Book a call with me via the show notes to learn more about one-on-one coaching, and I look forward to sharing with you the next client story. That's it for today's episode. Thank you for listening in. If you enjoyed the episode today, head over and leave me a review. This helps others find the podcast and be one step closer to curating their healthy lifestyle. Come connect with me over on Instagram at Nike_Lamodi. And if social isn't your thing, join my beautiful newsletter community via the link in the show notes. To learn more about exclusive one-on-one wellness coaching, head over to randawellness.com. As always, remember to give yourself grace.